Good day to our young philosophers. I am Sir Edward, and today we have a new topic to discuss. So come on and let's start to explore, understand, and appreciate the wonderful world of philosophy. Before we start, I have here a question to ask. Do you still recall your face-to-face class days wherein after class you experience walking alone going to your home, and you tend to recall what transpired or what happened throughout the whole day when you spend in your school. How do you interact with your classmates? How do you interact with your teachers? How did you perform on your different subjects? So that moment of when you walk alone, try to recall things that happened, that act is what we call as reflection. You tend to reflect on what happened or what transpired on that day. The question is, do you reflect? Or if you reflect, how often? Is it every day, every night, or, or why do you reflect? So for today, we will discuss another important topic for our subject, philosophy of the human person, and that is philosophical reflection. We will discuss the definition of philosophical reflection, the different views on philosophical reflection, and the importance or significance of having reflection in our day-to-day life. Let us define reflection. Reflection is an activity that requires a person to examine his or her thoughts, feelings, and actions and learn from experience. Its trajectory is to see the bigger picture about everything. This process is called philosophical reflection. According to Gabriel Marcel, so we have here Gabriel Marcel, philosophical reflection is the act of giving time to think about the meaning and purpose of life. When you think, you discern, and when you discern, then you go and you make important decisions and actions in your life. Reflection requires a person to be willing to examine one's thoughts, feelings, and actions and to learn more about one's life and experiences. Now, one can reflect on almost any subject. For example, the moment you wake up, and you can already reflect upon the things that you plan to do for the day. Like for example, what clothes should I wear? What will be my breakfast? What are the things to do? So this will enable you to set your daily goals and set you on the path of thinking ways on how to achieve them. Philosophical reflection allows us to have opportunities to think more deeply about our actions, our motivations for doing such action, and even its possible consequences. Philosophical reflection is vital in ensuring that our actions and decisions are well thought out and are done with due regard for their implications and consequences on ourselves, others, and our surroundings. Philosophical reflection helps us understand ourselves and our actions better. When we reflect, we can judge whether our actions or decisions are reasonable or not. Now, we have two types of reflection, and one of which is what we call as primary reflection. It is the ability to think logically or reasonably, the ability of the mind to construct and evaluate arguments. It examines its object by abstraction, by analytically breaking it down into its constituent parts. It is concerned with definition, essences, and technical solutions to problems. Meanwhile, secondary reflection is a type of reflection which enables us to look deeper into our experiences and see the bigger picture of reality. It integrates the fragmented and compartmentalized experience into a whole. It is the idea that various systems, like for example, physical, biological, social, should be viewed as wholes and not merely as a collection of parts. Now, to understand more primary and secondary reflection, primary reflection focuses on the physical aspect of an idea, a concept, while secondary reflection goes beyond that particular concept or idea. Let's have, for example, the concept or the idea of life. For primary reflection, life can be perceived on how our organs function properly. The beating and breathing of our hearts, the function of our lungs and of our brain that constitute life. But for the point of view of the secondary reflection, we tend to dig life on a much bigger scale, on a much deeper realization. Like, for example, having a successful career, or being in a company of your genuine and sincere friends, or being a part of a loving and kind family, or finding and pursuing the things you love the most. That is what we call or comprises the secondary reflection. Now, let's have an exercise for us to apply primary and secondary reflection. So we have here the concept of a house. Okay. So we have here two images. So we have here the first image of the house, and we have here the second image of the house. So which among these two images can be categorized under the primary reflection? So there you go. This one, this picture, okay, is considered as a primary reflection or wherein we focuses on the structure, the size, and the dimension of the house. So meanwhile, this particular image or picture is more of a secondary reflection. It goes beyond on the physical aspect of the house, beyond the structure, beyond the size, beyond the dimension, but it goes beyond what makes a house a home, what makes a house happy and a loving atmosphere. A house should have a family. A house should consist of people united by love, by affection with one another. Let's have another example. Let's have, for example, the concept of school. Okay. So we have here my current workplace, and that is Jose Abad Santos High School. So I have here a series of pictures for you to understand or categorize whether the following pictures depict primary or secondary reflection. So we have here the following images. Let us now categorize whether the following images belong to the primary or secondary reflection. Let's have this one. Okay. We have here the structure or what transpired, for example, inside the classroom wherein the teacher is having his discussion in his class. This one is considered correct as a primary reflection. How about this one? The teachers in the particular school. This is another example of primary reflection. Now, the friends that you gain from your school, the memories that you shared with your friends or your classmates, or even, for example, thinking that school is an instrument for you to attain your goal or ambition in life can be considered as a secondary reflection. Again, let me emphasize that when we say primary reflection, we tend to look on the surface of an idea or concept. When we say secondary reflection, we tend to go deeper into that concept or idea. So in this case, for school, we can say for school, for primary, we have the teachers, we have the classroom, we have the structure. For secondary reflection, we tend to reflect our memories in our school, our friends, our classmates, and how we aspire to become a better student and a better person. Another example, let's have the concept of love. Let us categorize the following images or pictures, whether they are primary reflection or secondary reflection. Let's focus on the first picture. What do you think is the answer for this one? Is it primary or secondary? The answer is primary reflection. We perceive love more of a chemical reaction on our brain. How about the next three images? So we have here, diba? So we have here as having a loving family, for example. So this one is considered as a secondary reflection. Same goes with with the third picture, diba? When you give yourself to others, diba? That is love, and that is beyond the meaning of love. So therefore, it goes beyond secondary reflection. And when you give more time to yourself, 'di ba? Self-love, especially now in these trying times, 'di ba? Self-love, it is also considered as a secondary reflection. So I hope that you're able to understand more the concept or the difference, of course, of primary and secondary reflection. Let's have, for the last time, let's have the concept of rain. So we have here three images, and let us analyze whether the following images belong to primary or secondary. Let's focus on this one. So we have here the water cycle, and as we all know, water cycle is responsible why we have rain. And this one belongs to, that is correct, primary reflection. It goes beyond the surface. And we have here the next picture. Diba? This one is also a secondary reflection, di ba? Rain, when we tend to dig deeper on that concept, doesn't only focuses on its scientific explanation, but more that rain could be harmful for others, especially like for this picture, di ba? We have this flash flood wherein we're all affected and devastated because of the flash flood. But for some, it could also be in a form of a blessing. Like for example, rain could be considered as a form of blessing for the farmers, di ba? For their crops, di ba? So, when we think analytically, much more deeper, when we associate that particular concept into a metaphor, then we can consider that as a secondary reflection. Now, reflection is not exclusively for philosophy. In fact, it is employed in any endeavor, research, or disciplines, one of which is modal theology. Modal theology employs STOP. This is an acronym. Stop sign as guideposts of moral decision making. S stands for search. Search out for the facts. It is important that all means should be exhausted to better understand the issue. Look for facts, look for information to support your ideas, to support your stand or your claim. Letter T, think. Reflect and analyze the facts, its negative effects, positive effects, advantages, or disadvantages. Letter O is others. How it affect others. We should always consider others in every decision that we make. every action that we take has always a social dimension. It affects ourselves, others, and community where we belong. And letter P stands for pray. We are human beings with limitation. If our best effort are not enough, then there is no way but look up for the divine, for divine or God for enlightenment and guidance. So, on a nutshell, let's have a summary of our topic for today. We discuss reflection. And for reflection, we have two ways for us to reflect on our actions and decisions. One is the Marsilian way. Under the Marsilian way, we have two types of reflection, the primary reflection and the secondary reflection. And we also discuss model theology. This is a guidepost for us to make our decisions, and that is stop. We have to search, think, think about the others, and, of course, pray for the enlightenment and encouragement of our God. So that ends our topic. Always remember that when we reflect, we grow as a person and we make good, improve, and sound decisions in our life. So, good day to everyone. I hope that you learned something. If you like our video, please like this video and hit the subscribe notification bell. I am Sir Edward Noda from Jose Abad Santos High School. See you again as we explore another important topics in the wonderful world of philosophy. Thank you and have a good day.